Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Dude, this just did.
And it's great.
All right. So today's episode is so yeah, we're on the same wagon with the series on social justice. We finished up Me Too, and this week we are concentrating on the real monsters of Hollywood, and that is from the very, very beginning. And it's disgusting and it's horrific. And I think throughout this episode, you're going to figure out how deeply passionate Roxanne and I are about this, not just the subject itself, but also movies and TV in general.
Yeah, you probably have.
That's been a huge topic of interest throughout our entire friendship. We can sit and bitch about movies and actors and
All
TV
day.
shows. Literally,
We've done it. Yeah. We've done it for like years on end.
yeah. We remember when we did like movie reviews for fucking, just for funsies. Yeah.
For funsies.
Okay, so yeah, the you want to hit us up with some trigger warning?
For sure. I just honestly, guys, this episode contains sexual everything. And that means sexual abuse, that's sexual assault, sexual harassment in the workplace and other settings. Like it's anything that's bad or a sex crime of some sort, we're probably going to cover it. Be warned. Also, we're going to touch on suicide, homicide, self-harm, substance abuse, and use.
Yes, and I have, crimes committed against minors and child pornography and rape, including minors.
Yeah.
It's really fucking bad, you guys.
It's real bad.
So yeah, the real monsters of Hollywood. All right, take us away.
Yeah. So the Me Too tweet was just a scratch on the surface. And if you keep scratching, you would find that sexual assault and casting couch behavior goes as far back in Hollywood as lights, camera, action. The casting couch is a term for a powerful person in the entertainment industry soliciting sexual favors or sexually harassing or coercing someone in exchange for work in the industry. This behavior is the attractive young women to audition and attempt to solicit sexual favors for roles in their plays. And obviously, like so many other things from theater, this too would transition to the film industry. Hollywood actually began in West Orange, New Jersey in 1893. When Thomas Edison created the first film studio, named the Black Maria, and by 1894, the first black and white short silent film called The Sneeze was produced. Considering Edison owned the patent to the film camera, anyone who wanted to produce movies at the time had to lease the camera from Edison. The Black Maria studio was only in use for 5 years, but produced hundreds of short films of all types, including the first on-screen kiss, animals doing various tricks, trains leaving and arriving at a depot, dancing and vaudeville acts, and a star of one of these films, Annabelle Whitford, was already an established American dancer when she performed in her first film in 1894 at 16 years old. And in 1896, Annabelle was approached by a film producer asking if she would appear nude at a private dinner party, which she declined. This rumor spread and tarnished her reputation. She retired from films early and died penniless and mostly unknown in Chicago, Illinois. The name of the producer was never released to the papers. So as I stated, by 1901, the Black Maria had closed its doors.
So producers took their ideas to the West Coast to get away from Edison. The first Hollywood studio.
It was Nestor Studios, built in 1911, but would merge with a few smaller studios to become Universal Pictures by 1917. By 1920, Paramount, Fox, Warner Brothers, RKO, UA, and Columbia would establish their own studios in the area. Each also would face scandal within their first 10 years in production. Clara Bow entered Hollywood at 16 years old and claimed to be groomed by not one, but 3 separate directors during the course of her career. Unfortunately, By 1933, she had suffered multiple nervous breakdowns and hospital visits for attempted suicide and retired from acting. In an interview later in life, she said she just wanted to make enough money to stay away from Hollywood, that the place corrupted her image and broke her. Another prominent figure and part UA founder, Charlie Chaplin, met both his first and second wife on film sets, one at 8 years old and one at 14 years old. He impregnated both of them at 16 years old and married them to avoid sexual assault charges. William Desmond Taylor, a silent era director, was accused by two actresses for inappropriate relations and was subsequently shot and killed by the mother of one of them. Taylor primarily worked with smaller studios and Fox. Another giant, GM, broke ground in 1924 and would also have a string of scandals within its first decade, most notably with the industry parties that the execs would host and the young women who would be made to attend. But I believe Amy has some more details on that.
Yes, absolutely. So getting into the in Hollywood, so it has always sold a fantasy, beauty, success, happily ever after endings, but behind the camera, behind the contracts, and behind closed doors is another story unfolding. So this is not a story of isolated bad actors. It's a story of power, silence, systems that protect predators while punishing victims. Tonight we trace the real monsters of Hollywood from the silent film era into the modern age. Starting off with Virginia Rapp, one of the first cases of sexual assault and murder in the film world involved Fatty Arbuckle, who was a huge silent film star and who was tried 3 times. So 2 hung juries and 1 acquittal after the rape and death of actress Virginia Rapps and those following. So even though he was never found guilty, the
Hey, it
legal
was at
fees. It was
sorry, wasn't it
sorry.
at an MGM exec party that it happened? I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. So, according to a witness's statements from one of the trials, Mrs. Delmont claimed that Virginia Rapp was dragged into Arbuckle's room and then the door was then locked. She told one of the girls that she heard screams and then she talked about how she tried to open the door and help Virginia. She beat on the door and kicked it. And then when Arbuckle opened the door, she saw Virginia laying on the bed, moaning, disheveled, and nearly unconscious. And she told the jury that she believed that Arbuckle was responsible for Virginia's death. Mrs. Jean Jameson was one of the nurses who treated Virginia at Wakefield Sanitarium, and she testified that the injured woman, with her last breath, had accused Arbuckle of being responsible for her condition. So the manager for Virginia Rapp both were part of the party, and they were called to the grand jury room and told exactly the same story as Mrs. Delmont. Somehow the grand jury needed actual evidence to be able to indict Arbuckle. I later found out that Mrs. Delmont was considered an unreliable witness because of her going to parties and maybe having some drinks, and apparently women are supposed to do that back then. So it was like if you hear about any of her actual injuries, he fucking smothered her. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't just rape. It was like actual, like, bruises and lacerations. And it was really fucking bad. So
Yeah.
that is, it was huge at the time. So another one I'm absolutely disgusted to talk about, Shirley Temple wrote about in her 1988 autobiography that when she was only 12 years old, this was in 1940, she was interviewed by Arthur Freed, who was at the time working for MGM Studios, tasked with elevating the musical. Temple wrote that Freed unzipped his trousers and exposed himself to her. She was unsure what he was doing and she laughed, which, hell yeah. So after that, he got pissed off and threw her out of the room. So she also wrote in her book that Louis Meyer sexually prepositioned her mother in an adjacent room during the incident. Temple stated these are the reasons she left MGM after only one film and returned to Fox. In 2017, an actress and dancer by the name of Barry Chase also recounted being the subject of inappropriate conduct by Freed during the mid 50s. Freed left MGM in 1961 and went on to serve as the president of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences until 1966. He died in 1973 of a heart attack. Good fucking riddance. Next up, Patricia Douglas. Patricia thought she was showing up
I
to
know
a
this one.
casting call. This one. And when she showed up, she realized it was a party for the MGM workers. This fucking story made me sick.
Yeah. There's a
There
documentary
was a
about this story
documentary about
called,
this story
Girl
called,
27,
Girl 27.
I think.
Um, One thing to highlight is the MGM GM Eddie Mannix was known as a gangster. So, broke his wife's back and beat his mistress so badly she needed 15 abdominal surgeries. So this is the guy that we're talking about, Eddie Mannix. He was just one of 400 men that attended that party. So Patricia Douglas, she thought she was going to a casting call, but she was actually going to attend a party as basically a party favor. Okay. The set was in a rural area. She was dropped off there with many other women, and they were basically stranded. Throughout the evening, the women did their best to fight off the drunk men, but Patricia was not so lucky. A salesman named David Ross grabbed her from behind and raped her in the parking lot. He hit her and made sure she did not pass out. When she went to the hospital, the doctors said they could not find any evidence of sexual assault. She was determined to tell everyone what happened to her. She went back up to the studio, and when she told them what happened to her, he handed her $7.50. She filed charges and then later found out that the DA at the time was friends with the head of MGM Studios.
Yeah.
She then decided to get in touch with a friend who is associated with the mob. She was able to find counsel through that connection. Court case never went far. Eventually, David Ross's kids admit to the perjury. He was paid off for a chance at a sweet gig. So the whole ordeal was swept under the rug. Patricia kept her secret for 66 years until a Vanity Fair article came out and her story was heard once again. Each of those men suffered in the end suicide, cancer, heart attack, and her fucking riddance. Next one I have is Judy Garland. And according to an excerpt in the book Get Happy, The Life of Judy Garland
This one
by
messes
Gerald
me
This
up.
one messes. Yeah. Louis B. Meyer, the Canadian American co founder of MGM Studios, groped Judy Garland when she was just a teenager. It was also said that he held meetings with young women seated on his lap and his hands on their chest. And Myers responded to being turned down sexually by Garland, resulted in his threatening to ruin her. Listen before you go. This is quotes. Listen before you go. I want to tell you something. I'll ruin you and I can do it. I'll break you if it's the last thing that I do. Another quote. Between the ages of 16 and 20, Judy herself was to be approached for sex and approached again and again. These are quotes from the book. So don't think they all didn't try, she said. Top of the list was Meyer himself.
Uh-huh.
Whenever he complimented her on her voice, she sang from the heart. He said Meyer would invariably place his hand on her breast to show just where the heart was. I often thought I was lucky, observed Judy, that I didn't seem with another part of my anatomy. That scenario, a compliment followed by a grope, was repeated many times until, grown up at last, Judy put a stop to it. Mr. Mayor, do you ever do that again? She finally had the courage to say, I just will not stand for it. In addition to constant sexual harassment, she was also hounded and pressured to lose weight. She abused drugs and alcohol and died in 1969 from an apparent drug overdose of barbiturates at the age of 47 years old.
Yep.
I also read that drugs at the time were just,
Given to her.
they're given to her. Exactly.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were they
And
were
yeah,
force-fed to her to wake up, to go to sleep, to wake up, to go to sleep. They needed her on to be on set. She was 16. And also, they would give her medications for her to lose weight, like speed. Yeah, at 16, amphetamines and shit. It's so sad what happened to Judy Garland. Like, it's so sad.
yeah, they keep her up for like 72 hours at a time and then give her something to go to sleep
Yep.
and then just repeat.
Mhm.
For the next section, I have Loretta Young and Judy Lewis. In an article from San Diego Union Tribune, the famous actress Loretta Young claimed that her daughter was the product of date rape from a co-star from the film Call from the Wild.
Call of the Wild.
That's right. I just wrote in there, Call the Wild. I think that's right.
You got it.
So with Clark Gable, so she was unaware of the term until she was in her 80s. Her daughter, Judy Lewis, had told her mother about the term date rape, and she vividly recalled that was what happened to her. The pregnancy was kept under wraps, and then she claimed she adopted her daughter, so the pregnancy, yeah, was I guess they just kept her, like, hidden until she had the baby, and then they claimed that she
Was
adopted her
adopted.
own daughter.
Yeah.
So, the situation was described that Gable and Young were on an overnight train, and on the way home from production in a separate sleeping compartments, Gable joined her. She did not want anyone to know what happened because she did not want her daughter to know she was not conceived in love. She lived with guilt for decades for not being able to fend off Gable's advances. Heartbreaking.
It is.
So I have Gloria Graham and Anthony Ray. Gloria Graham was an accomplished actress known for roles in film noir classics such as Bad and Beautiful, The Big Heat, and A Lonely Place. And in 1951, Gloria was reportedly discovered in a bed with her 13-year-old stepson, Anthony Ray, by her then husband, Nicholas Ray. The scandal destroyed her career, as it should, but no criminal charges were filed against her. She did go on to marry her stepson, who had 2 children as well.
Bad
Eve.
form.
Bad form. Absolutely. The next one I have is Errol Flynn, and a famous quote by Errol Flynn. I like my whiskey old and my women young.
Mhm.
Another disgusting quote. I'm bewildered. I can't understand it. I hardly touched the girl after being released on bail from charges of statutory rape. He was accused by 2 young women, Peggy Satterlee, and the alleged encounter occurred on Flynn's yacht. Betty Hansen was at the age of 17, and the alleged incident took place at a Hollywood party. Flynn was taken to trial and then acquitted. He did not learn his lesson, even though his reputation was somewhat tarnished from the accusations. He still went on to date and marry a 15-year-old named Beverly Adland, and the relationship lasted until his death in 1959. The next one, you know, we have a special place in our heart for these movies, but this motherfucker from Alfred Hitchcock. So another revered director, he was well known for having a type and, quote, "Blondes make the best victims," he said. Another quote, they're like a virgin snow that shows up the bloody footprints." So yeah, actress Tippi Hedren claimed that Alfred Hitchcock sexually harassed her while they worked together in the 1960s. In her autobiography, Hedren describes Hitchcock throwing himself on top of her in the back of his limo and tried to kiss her. That was just one of many occasions where she had endured unwanted advances by him. She would grab her and she tried to fight him off, but the more she did, the more aggressive he became. Stalking and sexual assault were not well known terms at the time, and she endured so much throughout her career. After refusing his demands, he vowed to ruin her career and he made her life as difficult any chance he got.
Yeah, I do wanna make a note, like, you just said that, like, sexual assault and stalking weren't well-known terms used. There are undoubtedly a lot of sexual assaults that took place in the turn of the century and when Hollywood was kind of building itself up, but because it was not a crime in some situations to do that, you're not gonna find
You're
anything about it because, like you said, the terms didn't exist, but the crimes also, like, didn't exist. Like, a man could force himself upon a woman, and as long as he didn't cross a real serious line, serious being like penetration, then the cops would look the other way and be like, no harm, no foul. It was just maybe you shouldn't have worn that. Why are you drinking at this bar? Don't you know these kinds of guys hang out? Like, you know what I mean? And that wouldn't even be reported. So it's hard to say that like there isn't so many more cases out. Like there has to be. But because the language and the crimes weren't there to protect the survivors, there's no way for us to know what that number is. It undoubtedly happened more than just 5 times in the first 50 years of Hollywood. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's systemic for sure. But oh, and also I met Tippi Hedren when I was a little girl. Yeah, I met her. I had a big cat sanctuary in Acton, California, and my grandma lived in an apartment complex right next to it. So we got to go and see the big cats and got to meet Tippi, and I didn't know who she was at the time. Had no idea. Like she was just a really nice old lady that let us play with her big cats. Like that's all I knew about her. And then later on, when I was a little bit older, me and my grandma watched the birds, and she was like, "It's Tippy," and I'm like, "That's that lady!" And now, I love the birds, especially because like, Tippy has a little special
Has
place.
a little special place in my heart. She was always so sweet to me.
So, I have, like, fond memories of her and her cats. She was just a crazy cat lady, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's good. It sounds like the later part of her life is a lot better.
I think so. A lot of families in that area knew her and would go and visit, and she would just let you go and look at her cats, like, she didn't never charged anything, we never paid, it was just like a you could go see Tippi Hedren and her big cats if you want, and she was a sweet lady, like, she was always very friendly. If you saw her, if she came out, you know, then she was always super nice, so, yeah. I hope her end of her life was better than the middle with
Middle
Hitchcock.
with Hitchcock. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, sorry. Going back to more pieces of shit, we have Roman Polanski. So yeah, in 1977, a gamer who was at the time 13 years old accused director Roman Polanski of raping her. He recalled that Polanski took her to Jack Nicholson's house in LA under the pretense of wanting her as a model for a photo shoot. When they got there, Polanski gave her quaaludes and photographed her topless. They were alone in Nicholson's house, so he took her to the bedroom and raped her. He was accused of sexual assault of a minor, drug use, and perversion, sodomy, but only convicted of unlawful sexual intercourse. He was sentenced to 90 days in prison to complete a psych eval while deliberating and final sentencing. Lansky was able to get 90-day probation period to finish one of his projects. When he got back to the US and returned to finish his 90 days, he was released after serving 42. He then fled to Europe before his sentencing after learning the judge would renege on his probation agreement and oppose a jail sentence. He continued to live in France and continued to make movies where he won an Academy Award. Later in 2010, a woman named Charlotte Lewis also accused Polanski of predatory sexual conduct against her when she was 16 years old, claiming that Polanski insisted that she sleep with him to return to the casting of the film Pirate.
He's gross.
Ria Schneider, so she was a 19-year-old actress, star of the movie The Last Tango in Paris, and she was subjected to a horrific scene that she was not aware of. Bernardo Bertolucci and her co-star Marlon Brando
Brandon.
conspired to
Mhm.
shoot the assault scene where Brando's character uses a stick of butter as lubricant to rape Schneider's character, Jean. At the time, Brando was 48. The director's excuse was that he wanted to film her very real and terrified reaction as a girl. He says, I wanted her to act humiliated. I think she hated me and also Marlon because we didn't tell her. To obtain something, I think you have to be completely free. I didn't want Maria to act her humiliation, her rage. I wanted her to feel humiliation and rage. Then she hated me for all of her life. Speaking to the Daily Mail in 2007, she said that she felt raped. by Brando, and she later embarked on a path of self-destruction involving drug addiction and suicide attempts. So the next one, I did see that you had it down, but I'm going
Go
to
ahead.
Go ahead. Cool. I'm gonna roll with it. Victor Salva. It's fucking disgusting.
Oh, yeah, this
Victor
one's
Ron-
bad.
Victor Ronald Salva, born March 29th, 1958, American film director, screenwriter, and convicted child sex offender. A self-described protege of Francis Ford Coppola, he is best known for writing and directing the horror films Jeepers Creepers 2, and Jeepers Creepers 3. So in 1998, Silva was convicted of sexually abusing child actor Nathan Forrest Winters during the production of Clown House. Salva also videotaped one of the encounters and was found to possess child pornography, though he was not publicized until 2006. Protests against this film soon followed, including boycotts organized by Winters himself. Despite this, he was continued to work in the film industry, making the films Powder, which I loved that movie when I was younger.
Yeah, it's
Peaceful Warrior, Rosewood Lane, and then The Dark House.
he made most.
Um, yes.
Damn it.
Good serious.
It was a really good
That's a
movie.
really good movie.
So is Peaceful
Chef
Warrior,
and
so is
Peaceful Warrior.
Powder. Man, these guys suck.
We loved Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, we did.
That was fucking creepy as shit movie.
It was so scary until the end when he turned into a bat boy.
Exactly. It's serious. Like,
Stop
I
it.
don't, why do they do that? Just,
I just wanted him to be just a bad dude, so bad, and when they
yeah,
turned it into a monster movie, I mean, like, I like a monster movie, but, like, if you would've just kept on that track of just a dude, that would've been a terrifying film, you know? Whatever. That's my piece on it. Is that all for
yeah.
your list?
It's,
Well, I
wish it
have I
was.
have plenty more coming, so
So I want to touch on just a few more because
yeah.
I don't feel comfortable going through the 80s and 90s without talking about
No, of
Corey
course.
Feldman, Corey, Corey Haim, and that motherfucker Charlie Sheen. So
Mhm.
two of the most beloved young actors, and like the place in my heart that the Lost Boys have, like I really think that that movie is what set off my obsession with vampires at a young age.
That's fair.
It really, I mean, Nosferatu, of course, but I saw Lost Boys first before Nosferatu for
Sure.
sure. Um, but they are some of the most beloved young actors of the 80s. Later became central figures of the most persistent and controversial discussions about child sexual abuse in the entertainment industry. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman were teen stars in the 80s, and they were in all kinds of movies. And then later on, Corey Feldman made a documentary, and it was called My Truth, The Rape of Two Coreys, it was about being sexually abused as a child actor in Hollywood. He said the abuse came from several hands. He did later, I believe, state some names that I did not write them down, but if you are interested, please watch it. So this abuse started when he was just 10 years old, all the way to the age of 16 years old. He says that he would like to name some names, but he has been able to do so publicly due to legal fears and then statute of limitations. Haim himself spoke briefly on camera about their reality show, The Two Coreys, about having been sexually abused as a teenager by an acquaintance of Feldman. Haim declined to identify the abuser publicly at the time. After Haim's death in 2010, Feldman and the others have interpreted Haim's struggles with addiction and emotional turmoil as tied, at least in a part, of unresolved trauma from that abuse, although causation, of course, is complex and multifaceted, but we can assume why he was addicted and was in, such a self-destructive phase. So, very, very sad. I have another one, which I'm not sure that I don't think I saw it on your list. I don't know
I
if
can
you know.
skip it if I did.
So, Eliza Dushku. So, So yeah, in 1993, Eliza Dushku filmed the movie True Lies, where she was allegedly sexually molested. And I say allegedly because he was never, taken to court about it. So this guy was Joel Kramer, and he was a stunt coordinator. And apparently, he took her to a hotel room and sexually assaulted her. So her on-set guardian reported Kramer's inappropriate behavior before that even happened. And so she was 12 years old at the time, and he would refer to her as jailbait. And that was his like little nickname.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah. And so whenever her onset guardian had reported this inappropriate behavior, they were just like, and what? They didn't give a fuck. And so, but like I said, he was never actually arrested for anything, but there was, from what I read, two other stars had reported him as well. Another piece of shit, and the last piece of shit that I have on my list, Mark John Collins Rector, and he is an American-born businessman convicted of sex and a convicted sex offender who founded Digital Entertainment Network, and this is an online streaming video broadcaster and a dot-com failure. Love that part. In 2004, he was convicted of child sexual abuse, which was highlighted in the 2014 documentary An Open Secret. So Collins Rector and his business partners, Chad Shackley and Brock Pierce, operated the Digital Entertainment Network out of his Los Angeles mansion. There they had parties and attended by Hollywood's gay A-list, which quotes, at those parties, Collins and others were alleged to have engaging in sexual assaults against teenage boys. So long story short, he fled the country, found, then brought to court, convicted, and now lives in Belgium under the name Mark Collins. So just living his life after. Yeah. And there's a huge article on all the shit that he's done, but just a literal piece of bullshit. So yeah.
I hate all of them. But
Yeah.
guys,
I know.
we're not done. Oh man.
Well,
Boy, here we go, babies. Okay. So, the last 25 or 30 years have seen an increase in people being canceled. Between online articles, documentaries, social media, and podcasts, it is harder than ever to hide from the past. But short of wrecking a reputation, there isn't much being done within the justice system to support survivors or punish the criminals. Money is all the retribution many of these people will see, if anything at all. Here is a rundown of the more notable cases over the last few decades. 2008, Andy Dick, the actor. And this is gonna go on for a bit, guys, because he doesn't stop.
there's a lot.
Yeah. So in 2008, on television, Andy Dick groped Ivanka Trump and he got escorted off the stage. He was arrested for sexual battery and pled guilty. In 2011, he was charged with 2 counts of sexual assault, pled not guilty, took a plea to drop the charges. Also in 2011, a lawsuit came out against Dick for sexual assault, later dropped. 18, he's charged with misdemeanor sexual battery. In 2022, he was arrested on suspicion of felony sexual assault. Charges were later dropped. And in 2023, he was arrested for not registering. Andy Dick. And now he has a severe drinking problem, from what I understand. Like he's been found to he's like on the streets drunk in LA now. So I mean, that's what you get when you live a life of a
Yeah.
scumbag,
Perfect.
Andy Dick. You
That
know?
sounds perfect for him.
Exactly. I'm like, good. That's what you get. Like, whatever. Nobody cares. Shut up. Shut up. So in
I
2000,
really hope that people just piss on him while he's
yeah,
playing in the street.
I'm sure
If anybody's listening and you find Andy Dick passed out in the fucking street, just take a piss on him. Like, let me know, and I will literally send you $5.
Amy's trying to get somebody to take a piss on Andy Dick in the street. I love it. All right.
I will pay.
In 2011, David O. Russell, who's a director, is accused of sexual assault by his teen transgendered niece, and there is a police report filed. He admits to the crime, but no charges are filed against him. He does have a history of being verbally and physically abusive on set, as well as engaging in sexual harassment and misconduct. He never denies the allegations, but he's never charged. Like, simply, he's never charged. It is bananas to me that this guy can have this many allegations and nothing's coming of it. But David O. Russell. Um, I'm gonna go 2014. James Franco, the actor, he admits to having sexual communications with an underage girl online. In 2018, 4 women are interviewed in an article accusing Franco of sexual harassment and misconduct when he was teaching acting at like an acting workshop. In 2019, 2 former students of Franco's filed suit against him for sexual harassment, misconduct, and exploitation. He settled all of it out of court. He did admit it. He has admitted to sleeping with underage students since.
Since
Mm.
that was really hurt.
Yeah, I liked him. I did. So it's a bummer. It's all like a lot of these are bummers. You know what I mean? Like you fall in love with their medium, their art form, whatever they're putting out, whatever product they're putting out. And then when you find out, it just sucks. It sucks to find out. This one in particular, I was actually super bummed. Bill Cosby. In 2014, we all, I'm sure, know, but the comedian is outed as a rapist when Hannibal Buress makes a remark during his act about Cosby. And then after that, many women begin reporting to various media outlets about years of abuse dating back to 1965. In April 2015, charges are refiled against Bill Cosby for a rape occurring in 2005. In 2018, he is found guilty of rape. And in 2021, his conviction was overturned and he was released. 60 women have come forward, mostly through civil suits due to the statute of limitations, but Cosby continues to pay out restitution to his victims. So it's kind of in a weird turn of events, like he started in stand-up and he used stand-up to like perpetrate his crimes. And then a stand-up comedian is the one that takes him down, essentially. Like who it leads to
Yeah.
that. But like good, because also fuck you, Bill Cosby, you know? Okay, in 2016, Roger Ailes, who's a media mogul for Fox, is accused by 12 women dating back to the 1980s of sexual harassment and offering promotions for sexual favors. Ailes resigned, but no charges were ever filed. Many accusers claim to have reported this to Fox, which would result in the accuser being fired or demoted. Ailes wasn't the only abuser on Fox's payroll. In 2017, Bill O'Reilly, the media personality, was ousted by 6 women of sexual harassment and payouts for silence of abuse totaling $13 million. No charge filed. O'Reilly was forced to resign from Fox. James Rawson, who's also a media personality at Fox, is also fired after 3 colleagues come forward with sexual harassment allegations. No comments or charges were made, and he has since returned to the media. So 2017 would see more accusations than any other year prior or since, largely due to the hashtag #MeToo, and it started with Harvey Weinstein. If you don't know, I'll recap it. Harvey was a media mogul and film producer who formed Miramax with his brother Bob. In October 2017, The New Yorker and The New York Times reported sexual assault allegations against Weinstein from multiple women. In May 2018, charges were filed in New York and Los Angeles while London opened an investigation, and Harvey stepped down from his position. Over 80 women ended up coming forward to accuse him of sexual harassment and abuse, including rape, dating back to the late 1970s. It was also reported that he used his position to blacklist actresses and offer or deny roles. Many of his colleagues knew of his offenses at the time and assisted in cover-ups and payouts. In 2020, New York finds him guilty. In 2024, this is overturned through appeal. 2022, Los Angeles finds him guilty, and in 2024, London ends its investigation without charges. He continues to appeal all convictions, and it has recently come out that he has hired private investigators to hush survivors and editorials or journalists. He's still like somehow on the back end, like fighting against this. So, although Weinstein was shocking and seemed to be far reaching, he wasn't the only name. Like I said, 2017 saw more accusations than any other year online. And in case you forgot or missed any, we went and dug them up. So, Kevin Spacey, the actor, is accused of rape and sexual abuse of underage boys by 15 men, and the mothers of the underage boys would also file charges dating back to 1986. See issues an apology. A civil suit is filed against him in 2020, and he's found not guilty in 2022. In 2023, he faced charges in London and was acquitted, but he issued another apology. He has admitted to some of this behavior. So even though he may not be found guilty in the courts, before he even went through the court process, he was kind of admitting to some of this. All right, Casey Affleck, the actor, gets ousted as having paid off 2 sexual harassment claims in 2010 from incidents in 2009 on set with an actress and crew woman. No charges filed. He issued an apology. Ryan Singer, director, is named in a lawsuit stating that he had sexually assaulted a young boy. Subsequently, past lawsuits arose dating back to the 1990s, claiming Singer had lured and sexually assaulted underage boys. He denies all the allegations. In 2019, 4 more men came forward with a lawsuit, and Singer settled out of court. He denies the claims, but he left the country, and he is currently self-directing a film about the allegations against him. So stay tuned for that. Don't hold your fucking breath. Ben Affleck, the actor. He is accused by 2 women of sexual misconduct. He acknowledged and apologized for his behavior. Also apologized for having been complicit when hearing rumors of Weinstein. Claims he will donate all Miramax proceedings to survivors' causes. No charges have been filed. Louis C.K., the comedian. He is accused by 5 women for sexual misconduct in the early 2000s. He admits to the misconduct, issues an apology, and loses brand deals. But he returns with a special in 2022 addressing the allegations and wins a Grammy. How do you feel about that one, Amy?
It's
Louis C.K.?
yeah, it's upsetting.
Me
It
t
really
It
is. Like
is.
he was my favorite
Yeah.
comedian.
I liked him a lot too. So, like, I was
Yeah,
bummed.
yeah. And I understand that he is doing work to be better, and that's great. Like whenever actors are fucking they understand what they did is fucked up. They don't know why they're doing what they do. Sometimes things happen to people and they went through something traumatic and they're doing things. And then I feel like sometimes, like, if you have things like at your disposal, like, all of a sudden you have fame, all of a sudden you have money, and all of a sudden, perhaps he just went fucking crazy. But I just,
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's a bummer.
it really is. Like, I personally don't think I'm ever going to want to see anything that he does.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to picture what he did to
Mhm.
those girls,
Right.
and it's fucking disgusting.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you get through the good for him, he's good.
Yeah.
But, like, that doesn't mean that people are gonna forget. Yeah.
And he has 2 daughters. It's like, can you imagine? I telling them, like, "Hey, the reason why I lost my job is because of this," and they have to, like,
I
live
know.
with that. Like, that would be even worse than living with the shame, would be knowing that their name and their
Yeah.
lives are tarnished because of
You.
his action.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's
That's sad. Okay, Andy Signor, who's an online media producer, is accused of sexual harassment and retaliation of coworkers and fans over sexual advances. 2 women came forward and he lost his position. In 2000, like at work. In 2019, 2 more women come forward about sexual harassment. He has denied these allegations, but his media company released a statement that the claims were founded. but no charges have been filed. So Chris Savino, an animator, is fired from Nickelodeon following years of sexual harassment claims against him by a dozen women, including retaliation for not allowing advances. He apologizes for his behavior. No charges are filed. I'm going to end up saying that a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Rick Nahara, I'm not sure. He's an actor. He resigns from CBS after the hashtag #MeToo movement goes viral. CBS cites that he had verbally and sexually harassed female colleagues. No comments were made on, Rick didn't make any comments, and no charges were filed. Mark Halperin, who's another media personality, he resigns from CNN after it is leaked that a dozen women had been victims of sexual harassment and misconduct. He admits to some of the allegations. He lost his position, but no charges are filed, and he is currently back working in the media. Danny Masterson, the actor, is charged for 3 counts of rape that occurred in the early 2000s. In 2021, he pled not guilty, and hearings began, and it came out that the Church of Scientology had attempted to cover up the assaults. In 2023, he is sentenced to 30 years in prison for 2 of the 3 rape charges. He continues to appeal and deny allegations, and it was also found in the court documents that the Church of Scientology had intimidated witnesses to the crime and investigation, including the investigators and the prosecution team, breaking into homes, stalking and sending threats, and poisoned their dogs. So, the Church of Scientology was really trying to keep him from going down for these crimes, but he went down for them anyway.
Often, people
Me
don't
too.
get fucking charged.
I know. I know.
And he's like a popular white man who had fucking Scientology on his side, and he still fucking went down. Thank God,
They got
finally.
right. Exactly. No, I'm stoked. Whenever I get really happy when I don't have to say no charges filed. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
at least something, you know what I mean? Something is better than nothing. All right, moving on. Andrew Kreisberg, who's a television writer, is accused by 14 women and 5 men of sexual harassment. He is fired. In 2023, he was arrested for sexual misconduct. Charges were later dropped. No comment made, and no further charges were filed. Mark Schwann, a television director, is accused by 25 women of sexual harassment on set. Men also confirmed they witnessed this behavior. He was terminated, no statement issued, no charges filed, and he has not returned to film or television since. All right, Charlie Rose, another media personality, is accused of sexual misconduct by 8 women going back to the late 90s. In 2018, 27 more women came forward with accusations, and 3 of them filed a lawsuit. In 2019, another lawsuit was filed by an ex-employee, and in 2024, he settled the lawsuits, but has denied most of the allegations. He has been stripped of titles and positions, so he is not currently or wasn't working in media whenever I did the research for this. Maybe he's somewhere, but not that I know. All right, Johnny Luzini, who am I saying that right? Luzini? Oh, he's a TV chef, and he is accused by 4 women of sexual harassment. He is fired from his position, but he does not issue a statement, and no charges are filed. Matt Lauer, he's a media personality. He's fired from NBC after a woman comes forward with a sexual assault allegation. NBC claims that it isn't an isolated event, but they had no knowledge of any events before 2017. The 2019 book comes out and details that NBC had prior knowledge but wanted to get ahead of the story due to hashtag #MeToo. 8 women have come forward. No charges have been filed. He denies some of the allegations, but he has not returned to television. Okay. Mario Batali, the TV chef, is accused by 4 women of sexual harassment and assault. He admits some wrongdoing, but denies most of the allegations. And in 2018, 60 Minutes aired a special with more accusers coming forward. He ends up getting fired or resigns from most positions. In 2019, New York declines to charge Batali for 2 sexual assault allegations, does charge him with 1 count of sexual battery, and in 2021, Batali agrees to pay $600,000 in settlements to 20 former male and female employees. In 2022, he was acquitted on the battery charge. Morgan Spurlock, a documentarian, posts a blog where he admits to having sexually harassed and abused women in the past. And while in college, he claims to have had non-consensual sex with a partner, but no charges were ever brought. He admitted to paying out settlements in the past as well. He steps down from this, spotlight, so to speak, and no charges are filed against him because of the statute of limitations. Vincent Cerencione is a talent manager, closes his talent management agency after 9 women of color come forward and accuse him of sexual misconduct and coercion. His clients dropped him and made statements that they were upset he used their names to entice new talent. No charges filed, and he has not returned to the industry. And he was known, like, his as far as, like, who he would have for clients, like, he was known as primarily having women of color. Like, I think Taraji P. Henson was one of his clients, and she was really upset when it came out that he was targeting women of color because he was also representing them. So, kind of weird, I don't know. Anyways, John Lasseter, director and executive, takes a leave of absence from Disney Pixar after allegations come out of sexual harassment. He admits to the accusations and refers to them as missteps. Variety publishes an article detailing the years of abuse and that Disney Pixar had knowledge, including reminders for him to reel back his behavior. In 2018, he was let go from his position, but kept on for consulting. No charges have been filed. Gary Goddard, a director, is accused of raping 2 boys in the 90s. This brings up another incident from 2014 when another actor claimed Goddard had raped him when he was a child. Charges were filed and later dropped in that case. One of his victims committed suicide after telling his story, and he's denied all allegations. Roy Price, media executive, is accused by a woman of sexual misconduct, also accused of being complicit in Weinstein cases by 2 women. No charges filed against him. He resigned his position without any comment. So even after the tweet died down, it didn't seem to end the accusations launched at Hollywood, and many people were bracing themselves to find out who was next. So in 2018, Ben Vereen, a theater director, is accused by 4 women that he sexually harassed them in 2015, including groping, lewd comments, molestation, and coercion. He has apologized for his behavior, but no charges were filed. Les Moonves is an executive in Hollywood. He steps down from his position after multiple women come forward with sexual harassment allegations. A suit is launched against him and CBS for destroying evidence of the sexual exploits and insider trading. Ordered to pay $30.5 million in restitutions, and he cannot return to public platforms for 5 years as part of his. So also in 2018, Rob Cohen, who's a director producer, his trans daughter accused him of sexually assaulting her as a child and taking her to sex workers when she was 12 years old to turn her straight. He denies the allegations. Another allegation surfaces in late 2019, and his ex-wife confirms his assault of his daughter. No charges are filed. Asia Argento, an actress, and also an accuser of Harvey Weinstein and Rob Cohen, is accused of assaulting a 17-year-old boy in 2013. A victim was paid off by Argento and her partner, Anthony Bourdain. No charges were ever filed, but Argento was dropped from some brands. 2019, Bob Villard, who is a producer and manager, is arrested on charges of child molestation. He denies the charges, and it comes out that in 1987, a judge had found him guilty of solicitation of a minor to engage in sexual activities and distributing child pornography across state lines. The judge dropped the charges. He continued working as a teen photographer in the industry until his arrest in 2019. This was one of the guys that the Coreys named. I know that for a fact. Bob Villard, for sure. Like you were talking about the brothers, or I mean the Coreys, you know? And I was like, I know there's a name and I know what it is, but I couldn't pull it out off the top of my head. It's Bob Villard for sure. Okay. Cuba Gooding Jr., the actor, is charged with sexual abuse in New York. 30 oh, this is in 2019 still. 30 more women come forward citing sexual harassment or assault by August of 2019, and he was charged in 3 more incidents. In 2020, another woman brought a suit claiming she was raped by Gooding in 2013. He settled. In 2022, he pled guilty to 3 additional charges of sexual abuse and did therapy and treatment to skirt jail time. In 2020, Vid Gillard, a producer, is charged with 11 felony counts related to sexual violence against 3 women beginning in 2014. Charges are dropped, but they're dropped with a message to the survivors. Reporting sexual assault takes courage, and we recognize the strength of the women who came forward to tell their stories in this matter. While we are unable to pursue charges in this case, our hope is that the example of these women will inspire victims of sexual abuse to seek support and report abuse as soon as possible. He still remains active in the entertainment industry today. So it's kind of crazy when, like, because of the statute of limitations, even the courts were like, hey, we're really sorry. Like, we want to prosecute this guy, but we can't. And we're going to use you as an example. Like, we're going to issue a statement that we hope people will come forward sooner. And I don't know, it just sucks. Like reading that, just I feel for them, you know? I feel bad for them. I would imagine that would feel like a slap in the face. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I digress again. In 2020, Kevin Sujihara, an executive at Warner Brothers, is sued to lift a gag order dating back from 2013 when he offered auditions and roles to an actress introduced by Brett Ratner in exchange for sexual favors. The whole thing was helped cover up by James Packer, who's a billionaire, and Vice Chairman Ronald Meyer of Warner Media. And he resigned as a CEO, but that's all that happened. He just resigned his position. In 2023, Justin Roiland's 2020 arrest for battery and imprisonment is reported by NBC. And shortly after, multiple women come forward accusing him of sexual harassment in the workplace. And that Cartoon Network and Adult Swim had knowledge of behavior dating back to 2020. Charges were filed against him were dismissed. But new charges came forward at the end of 2023, accusing him of explicit sexual communications with underage females online dating back to 2013. He denies allegations and has been let go of all previous positions. He is best known for co-creating Rick and Morty. So there truly were hundreds of accusations against celebrities during the hashtag #MeToo campaign, most of them originating from the American film and television space, but they make TV and films everywhere. And Amy is going to give us some insight on if foreign television or film industries see the same systemic harassment and abuse.
Absolutely. So I like going through the research for this, had to cap it. I mean, this we
Yeah.
could have easily spent like another month researching this and still not even be done. So I'm just giving a couple that I thought were especially disgusting. Jimmy Savile from the United Kingdom, one of the most prolific sexual predators in the entertainment history, was a television and radio personality. For decades, Savile was a household name, hosting popular BBC programs, raising money for charities, cultivating a public image such as, as a national treasure. After his death in 2011, a massive investigation revealed that Seville had sexually abused hundreds of victims, many of them children, over a period spanning from the 1960s all the way to the 2000s. Victims reported being assaulted in BBC studios, hospitals, schools, and the charity facility places that should have been safe. Despite numerous warnings and complaints during his lifetime, institutions repeatedly failed to act. In 2012, British police launched Operation Newtree, confirming that Seville's abuse was extensive and that he had used celebrity status to evade accountability. The scandal exposed not just Seville, but a broader culture of the sex abuse in the entertainment industry, and then, in the British media institutions. So another one in Japan, a person named Johnny Hitagawa, and he is in the J-pop industry, and he is very influential figure in the pop culture there, and the founder of a talent agency called Johnny and Associates. So from the 1970s through the early 2000s, Hitagawa controlled the careers of countless boys who would go on to become some of Japan's biggest pop stars. For decades, allegations circulated that Kitagawa had sexually abused young boys, and many of them very young. So victims later described being assaulted in agency dorms, during trips, and under the guise of mentorship and career advancement. Japanese media largely avoided reporting on the allegations while he was alive, citing his immense power over the entertainment industry. After his death, investigations confirmed that the abuse was systemic and widespread, with hundreds of victims coming forward. The case forced Japan to confront how media, silence, and the corporate power enabled the exploitation of children for generations. Another one is Rolf. Um, no offense to anyone named Rolf, but what the fuck?
Yeah,
Rolf
what the fuck?
Harris. Another international case involved entertainer Rolf Harris, who enjoyed decades of fame in both Australia and the United Kingdom. As a musician and television personality, 2010, Harris was charged and later convicted of multiple counts of indecent assault against underage girls. The crimes dated back to the 70s and the 80s when Harris used his status to gain access to children in professional and social settings. His convictions shattered carefully maintained public image and became part of a wider reckoning in the UK following the Seville revelations, proving that Seville was not an isolated case. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce these names, but there is a French actress named Adele Hanel, maybe. Adele Hanel went public in 2019 with allegations that French film director Christophe Rugia sexually harassed and assaulted her when she was a minor, and this was aged 12 to 15. So Hanel testified that Rugia sent inappropriate letters and engaged in unwanted physical contact. Ruge was found guilty of sexual assaulting Cannell in February of 2025 and received a partially suspended sentence and house arrest. So, yeah, kind of a slap on the wrist for that.
Yeah.
So, that is what I have for the international.
Okay, well, before we leave y'all, there are a few names that we did not mention that we think are worth noting, especially because some of them are very recent allegations. So here are our dishonorable mentions. Ready? Okay. In 1988, actor Rob Lowe has a sex tape leaked showing him engaging in sexual activity with a 22-year-old and a 16-year-old. He claims he did not know the girl was 16 at the time as he met her at a 21 and up club, and the age of consent at the time was 14. He paid the family of the underage girl an undisclosed sum. No investigation or charges were ever filed. In 1991, Vince Segal, the actor, is accused of sexual harassment by 8 women. He settles out of court with 2 of them. In 2010, a woman sues Segal for sexual harassment and trafficking, but she withdrew the suit. In 2017, 3 more women accused Segal of years of sexual harassment. And in 2018, 2 women filed lawsuits claiming sexual assault prior to 2018. Investigation is done and it's dropped due to the statute of limitations. In 1992, Woody Allen, the director, admits to a sexual relationship with his adopted daughter, Soon Yi. She is of consenting age, and Allen denies that he is the adoptive parent and deflects to seriousness when approached about it. Announces that they will wed, and in 1993 an investigation begins of sexual assault of his other daughter, a minor at the time of the incident. The court rules in Allen's favor but denies him custody of the children, citing inappropriate relations. Allen had a history of dating underage women throughout his career, and many of his films have a Lolita element to them. And there's been no change in his status. He continues to work today. In 2012, John Travolta, the actor, is accused by 2 men of sexual misconduct, and they filed charges. It was investigated, and the charges were dismissed. Another defamation suit was dropped in 2012, citing an NDA breach. And in 2014, a 4th man claimed that he had an affair with Travolta in the 80s. John Travolta has denied all allegations against him, and no charges have been formally brought against him. In 2017, oh, there's a few. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Amy, do you have any? Do you want to list a few and I'll take a break?
We were doing our research the first round. I wrote
Yeah.
this section on the Nickelodeon stuff
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
um it's just fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote down Brian Peck and Drake Bell,
Okay.
and so the former dialogue fiction actor, convicted sex offender Brian Peck worked on shows such as All That, Drake and Josh, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and so he worked for Disney and Nickelodeon. In 2004, Brian Peck was convicted of sexually assaulting Drake Bell in 2001, and Drake was only 15 years old at the time, and he was 41. I'm not going to get into all the details. Brian Peck worked his way into Bell's life and took him to dinners and basically groomed him as well as his parents to, believe that he's a good person, let them, go with me, this and that. So he, sexually assaulted Drake Bell when he was younger. It was over, it was many, many times.
Yeah.
And then he did get arrested, go on trial. During the trial, several of his colleagues and celebrities wrote a letter and showed up to the trial to support. That's right. Yeah, and this is disgusting. Yeah. Because we watched these shows and some of these actors that went to support him were actors that in from Boy Meets World and several other shows that we've watched
There's
from
also
and
that Amanda Bynes show. What was it?
yes. Yeah, it was called The Amanda Bynes Show. Yeah. It was, yeah. Right. And it was the showrunner. It was really handsy and yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so whenever these charges came out, he uh he did lose his job, but then he was hired by Disney. The really sad thing that happened next is that Drake Bell turned around and had allegations made about him. And there was an incident in, I believe it was 2017, involving a 15-year-old girl, and he had an online relationship with her. and then he ended up getting, like, 2 years probation from her testimony describing the contact, the grooming, and apparently, like, he like, her aunt knew him, and she got him back or she got her niece, like, backstage passes, and that's when he assaulted her.
Oh my god.
And so I try not to add information that's not from really a reputable source, but
Right.
I read many articles, and I know that Reddit is not really a very trusted
No.
website, so I'm just say that with, take this with a grain of sand. But he also has many like stories about him like treating his girlfriends like absolute dog shit. Like apparently like he pushed one of his girlfriends down the stairs
Wow.
like, really, really, like, piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, that's a rumor, not,
Not
anything with
fact.
the court about it, but it has been said that he has,
Right.
a lot of issues. Dan Schneider is the one I believe you're talking about
Yeah.
with
That's the one.
the show. So he's my other one that I have on here. So he doesn't have any official charges against him for sexual assault. I do want to highlight his horrific treatment of the child actors he employed. So if you've watched Quiet on the Set, which is a really great documentary. So it's really fucking gross, the stuff that this guy did. So sexual innuendos as pickle glory holes, foot obsessions, mock facials with mysterious goo that looks exactly like what you think. And then in like basically insisting that the girls wear skimpier outfits, shorter dresses, this and that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just a piece of shit. So my dishonorable mention is also that motherfucker.
Good. Yeah. So I have 4 more from 2017 from, like, the Me Too kind of movement, and the reason that we're mentioning them, I'm only mentioning them because there were allegations made, and but no charges were filed. They've denied these allegations, but I still think that they're worth mentioning because they were, these were more than one woman. Like, this wasn't like somebody said something and they denied it and nothing came. These were, like, multiple women coming forward. But I'm not gonna go into too much detail because we don't know for sure that this all happened. That during the Me Too in 2017 was also Brett Ratner, a director, accused by 6 women. Dustin Hoffman, the actor, is accused by 7 women. Jeremy Piven, the actor, is accused by 8 women. And Jeffrey Tambor, the actor, is accused by 3 trans women. And that's all that I've got for 2017 Me Too. I'm moving into some of the more recent ones. 2021, Armie Hammer is accused of sexual assault and coercion by 4 women who had previously been in relationships with him. It is revealed through texts that were shared online that he had a history of verbal abuse and would threaten to rape, kill, torture, and cannibalize women. An investigation is launched in 2021, and no charges are filed after insufficient evidence is found. He lost brand deals over it, and he denies some of the allegations, but he mostly just makes jokes about the situation. In tw Oh, go ahead.
Trying scares to make money now. So
Is he? Okay, well, good.
yeah.
'Cause he sounds like a real prick. Anyways, even if only like a quarter of what is alleged against him is true, Army Hammer, he sounds like a real piece of fucking work. Sorry, in 2023, Russell Brand, the actor, is charged on multiple counts of sexual abuse, including sexual assault, battery, harassment, solicitation, misconduct, coercion, and using his wealth, influence, and the aid of other powerful people around him of covering up his history of sexual crimes against adults and teenage women. 3 women have been named in the filing, with 9 total women having come out since 1999. He has denied the allegations, and his court date is pending, but he has lost some brand deals as a result. And 2025, we've got 2. Jared Leto, the actor, is accused by 9 women of being sexually harassed in the early 2000s. He denies the allegations, no charges have been filed, but Airmail is who issued the article against him and kind of exposed this, if it's true. This is allegedly. Also allegedly is Tyler Perry, the director and actor. He is being sued for $260 million by an actor who claims that Perry had used his position to coerce, harass, and inevitably sexually assault him while he was working on set. An investigation and charges are still pending. And that's all I got. Yeah, this is a lot. A whole lot. It is so
Literally,
gross.
it is ever since the beginning, and it's not gonna stop. It's not gonna end. I mean, these people need to be continued to be held accountable. There's enough freaks out there. Find somebody
Yeah,
to bang. Like,
yeah, get
there's
freaky
so
with it.
many hoes out there. So many hoes. Go to Rockport, Texas. Okay,
You'll find some.
go. You'll find some. Like, come on. You do not need to like go against somebody's will to have your way with them.
No.
Go find some hoe and be like, hey, tell me that you don't want me to do this, and I'll give you like $20, and then it's consensual and everything's fine.
Mhm.
And fucking stop being weirdo creeps.
And, like, let's just keep work to work, guys, like, whether it's on a set or it's in a kitchen or it's at a hotel or and that
If
means
you have,
when you're dealing with staff, if somebody is on a job site, leave them the fuck alone.
yeah, if they're your employee, then there is a power imbalance and it's not appropriate. Find another hoe somewhere.
There she
It's
goes.
not
There she
that
goes.
hard.
No, it ain't.
They literally have apps for that now,
Yeah.
guys. Like,
Yeah. Just yeah. Like, let your freak flag fly, but do it with consent. That's all we're saying. Well, this has been not fun, but I do love
God.
sharing not fun things with you. You're my
Yes,
favorite
absolutely.
person to just struggle through something with.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we're talking about next.
It's just gonna get so much better. Guys, we're doing missing and murdered Indigenous women next. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be so dark. These numbers, the statistics in that community of being sexually abused and harassed is staggering. It's so disgusting. So stay tuned.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. But no, for real, like y'all should like check out our website, sign up for the emails. This just in and it's scrim.com. You know it. I know it. She knows it. We all know it.
We are on TikTok and Instagram,
That's
and
right.
yeah, check out our website. We have YouTube page. You can watch us, and then on Red Circle you can listen. Links are on the episodes page, and yeah, see you next week.
See ya. Bye.